Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This episode is brought to you by Addo Aesthetics, the #1 coaching company for aesthetic professionals wanting to step into the role of spa CEO and build a business around a life you love. And today, we're really having a bit of a full circle moment here on the podcast. I'm really excited about it. And it's because back in 2012, I was going through this big personal transition in my life. I was moving, I was getting divorced. There's just a lot of stuff going on in my world. And I was living with a girlfriend of mine in Kansas City. And during that time, I got hired as an esthetician at AesthetiCare, which is this really incredible medical spa in the Kansas City area. And Matt Taranto, the owner, he really became a mentor of mine. And those of you in the world of medical aesthetics, if you've been to a Sciton training, if you've been to, he's always speaking at different conferences. I had the incredible honor to work for Matt it was a very short little blip, but it was definitely quality. You know, when we talk about quality, not quantity, there was so much that I learned in that time period. So anyway, he really became this mentor of mine. And I've just over the years have continued to look up to him of what he's built, what he's doing for the industry. And I actually met Kyle when I was working there, which is why I ended up leaving, which I'm very happy I did. I feel like it was the right choice because 10 years and 2 kids later, here we are happily building a life together. But to get back to this full circle moment, I'm actually having Matt's wife, Kathy, who is an incredible wealth of knowledge. She has been in the industry for decades. She's an expert trainer, and she is working at Mint, which is Matt and her training company. So they do online, in-person trainings. They do trainings for services, which I think is this incredible, incredible need. And what we talk about in the episode, it's like, yes, you can do all of this marketing, right? You can get people into your business, but once they're there, if your providers are not doing the quality of work, you're not going to be able to keep them, right? You want to get your people results. That's hugely important. And with how much this industry changes and grows and evolves, we've got to stay on the cutting edge of technology of what's changing in this industry. And so that is the need that they are filling by offering, whether you want to do a training in person, you want hands-on, whether you're doing Zoom, whether you're doing online courses, they're really providing all of these different ways that you can train your team and your providers on these services. So as you'll see in the interview, Kathy is a wealth of knowledge. She has so much experience and she's incredibly easy to talk to. And that is such a skill, especially when you're working with a trainer. It's one thing to really know the information and be great at it yourself, but it's another to actually be able to share. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope that you check out Mint and enjoy. All right, Kathy, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so excited as well. Thank you for having me.
So we talk on this show a lot about marketing and how to get your business busy. And you're certainly an expert in that. You and your husband have Mint Aesthetics. You do a consulting company. You have a med spa. You have a business model that a lot of people love and respect and look up to in the industry. But the thing is, you can do all of this marketing. You can get all these people there. But if you're not delivering a top-notch service, the marketing piece doesn't matter. And what was really interesting for me about what you guys do, and of course, you're incredible with the business and marketing, but you're also teaching technique and doing it in the online space. And I feel like that is something that is so needed in our industry, especially with COVID, especially with what we have been through in the past couple of years, getting to a place where we can get our team, our providers to that level of service, to that level of knowledge, to that level of skill that they need to be at without having to travel to conferences. And sometimes spas we can't even afford that in the beginning, right? But we want to be the best of the best. So How did that all get started? Tell me, like, bring me back. You were a laser trainer, right? I know that was like, well, welcome to the show. And
I know. Oh no, I'm happy to share it because I think sometimes, with the clinics that I work with, they see us as, this big clinic. We have 40 people. We did, almost 8 million last year. And I think, but it all comes down to where we started, and whether it's with the training facility or the clinic. Like, we didn't just start with a whole bunch of capital and people that said, oh, here you go, see if you can run with it. I mean, it all started so small, and it's all the little things that happen every day that got us to where we are. And I think, I don't know why, but this morning, maybe I just knew you were going to ask me this question, but I, I was thinking about the first filming, like the first set of videos we filmed for our e-courses. And this is before COVID happened. And so, number one, I think about doing a project like this, and I had been thinking about it for a number of years, but honestly, I was really kind of afraid to do it. I thought, I'm a little
put
nervous.
yourself out there.
Yeah, put myself out there, get in front of a camera. What if it's not well received? What if it sucks? Like what if it fails? Like all those things that go through your mind. And at one point, I actually went to this conference, and it clicked that the reason why I had been procrastinating this project that I wanted to do was because of that fear of failure. And I thought,
I'm so grateful that you're sharing this right now, because I think that there's so many talented people in this industry, and you sitting here as, oh, we did 8 million this year, and still sharing, I have those fears. I think that's such an incredible thing to give women and give spa owners the confidence that, like, no matter what level you're at, you've got to push yourself to go to your next level. And that's going to be scary, but
yes,
you went and did it. And it's been such an incredible impact in the industry.
Oh, well, thank you. I think with that, it was, I think for a lot of us, it's not realizing what's creating the procrastination,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding why it is that, wow, it's actually the fear of the embarrassment or the fear of the failure, or that it's not going to work out, or whatever you want to call it. But I think once I put those two things together, it was like, what? I'm not going to let that stop me. There's been so many things that I've done so well. Why would I let that stop me in this? And so once that happened, I kind of started the process going. I had a woman I worked with that had a friend that actually was a teacher at a local high school that taught film and media. And I was thinking, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money on this. Like, how do I just get started? I didn't go out and spend a whole bunch on a production crew at first, So he came in and we filmed our first course. He had his high school team help do the editing. I paid him with Visa gift cards. It was like, I was doing this like low budget, and I thought, I'm going to give it a go, see how this one course takes off. And I did it through a website that would host courses. So I didn't spend the money on a big website to begin with either. I spent it on the website's called Kajabi. So at that time, like you could host a course on their website.
That's what we used to.
Yeah. And so, it was great because it gave me the ability to load it in when I didn't have a big team to do all of like editing and production and all of that with me. And so we started there. And then once I saw that, like, this has value, because not only, even before COVID, and in teaching, that you can spend a day teaching someone, but when they go back to their own business and they're probably going to be all by themselves, especially when we're looking at laser techniques and treatments and technology where they just spent, $200,000 on this technology, and one day of training is just not enough. And
right. You can only absorb so much.
Yeah. And for me too, for all of us. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was like, they kept telling me like, hey, this is so great, but we get back and we're just there's so many questions. We have, there's no one for me to talk to in my clinic. I don't have anything to go back to review other than a manual, which just isn't the same as hands-on and things like that. And so, once I launched that course, it was for a couple of reasons, mainly to help the clinics I worked with have a resource when they got home, which now, like you mentioned, just makes so much sense because, not only is travel not great right now, but honestly, there's so much we can do through Zoom. There's so much we can do through virtual courses now. And I think we're all just more open to it because of COVID and the experience of not being able to travel at all.
So tell me a little bit about your why, because what I know from you, you've been in education for a long time, but you were back when you lived in Arizona, were you doing just laser, like laser training? How did you evolve into what you're doing now?
I kind of, just dumb luck in the beginning, like finding the right start into this industry, which was a sales rep for a spa line called Phytomer. It's a French cosmeceutical line.
Yeah.
And I was met this woman in a course I was taking my last year at school, and she worked for the president of that company in the United States. And so she knew that they were hiring for a job. At the time, I didn't even know what an esthetician was. I mean, this is in like 1999, I'd never had a facial. I probably couldn't spell esthetician, like, all those things. And she said, "Hey, we're hiring. I think you'd be great." I don't know why she thought I would be great. I mean, I
think you're not giving yourself enough credit. I know people always say dumb luck. It's like, no, there's drive there. There's skill there. And it is a skill to be able, you can know something really well, but to be able to actually teach that and get who you're teaching to get results, that is a great skill. And I know that you guys do that incredibly well.
Yeah. So, I think for me, I've pretty much done everything in this industry. I was the sales rep. I sold and distributed laser equipment. I started a laser rental company when the economy crashed in Arizona in 2007, 2008. So I would go in, train them every morning, leave the equipment, pick it up, go in, train them every morning, leave the equipment, pick it up. And so my days, would start at 4 or 5 in the morning and they would end at 7 or 8 at night type of thing. And then, I got involved with a clinic in Arizona. We started the laser training facility. So I had a clinic to work in while I ran a training facility and distributed products like lasers. So fortunately, I've gotten to do so much within the business. And I just decided, like most of us, like we want to do what we love. Mm-hmm. And so the training piece, I just love it. I love to take all the things I fumbled with over the years, the things that didn't work out so great, the things that were huge successes, and put them in a program that's well organized, because I'm such a huge fan of organization and planning.
Oh, yes. We could have a planning party. Oh my gosh, love it.
And, help out other people, because I think a lot of times in these with clinics, like they're small businesses. We spend a lot on equipment, which can be scary sometimes. And, you don't have like a huge corporation behind you, and you can feel like you're on an island. And so I thought, the onboarding process at our own clinic takes so much time and effort. And if I could streamline that for our own clinic and then take that process and share it with other clinics, I think there's just so much value there. And why recreate the wheel? I mean, when we bring on new equipment, we look for amazing people throughout the country and that do it really well, and we pay them. So, we pay a lot for education, and we're a training facility.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, when you look at, and I know you and Matt both kind of have this approach of collaboration, not competition, and not looking at, it's like when the spa industry does well, we all do well, right? And so the more that we can train and help and support other people in this industry, it's only going to elevate the industry to a whole new level. And really that like Instagrammable quote, "A rising tide floats all boats." Mm-hmm. So I think that, giving education, getting education is all going to make us so much better. So
definitely. I love to tell your story, actually. I don't know how often you tell your story, but I have a small piece of your story to share.
What is it?
Oh my gosh. So in the educational process, we talk a lot about building your team
Yeah.
and the roles within a team. And, I think a lot of times, owners come to us and they say, it's just really hard to find the right people and then how to keep them and all of those things. And so Matt, Matt told me the story, years ago. I had no idea who you were. We hadn't met or anything like that at this point. And it's a piece that gets shared within our educational program all the time. Here's this esthetician that comes into an office. This may not be 100% correct. So you go ahead and chime in if you want. But, the story and the share is that, as part of a team, no matter if you're an esthetician, a nurse, the front desk, you're part of our marketing team. We all work together in our business as part of the marketing team. And so years ago, there was an esthetician that walked into the office that wanted to work at AesthetiCare. And she sat down in the interview. She said, if you hire me today, I will get myself busy. You will not have to lift a finger and I will build the business. And so in that interview, she was hired on the spot because honestly, like who walks in the door and says that? No one since. There's not been one
secret shopped me first. He secret shopped me first, but that was what I said.
But, so this obviously I'm telling your story, but so I just think that's so powerful too for your team and for the people that, that you work with to know that you're telling and sharing a story from experience, that you walked in that door, you made that statement and you kept it. I mean, at that point you were at AesthetiCare that you got busier than any esthetician or quicker. You got busier quicker than any
it was
esthetician
fast.
in the history. Yeah.
Yeah. And Matt is someone, for those of you listening that don't know, I had the honor to work for Matt, Kathy's husband. It was only about 6 months that I was there. It was a short period of time. I was in a life transition and I met my husband. I met Kyle, and I met Kyle when I was working at AesthetiCare, and he's active duty military. We decided we wanted to build a life together, and that means moving every 12 to 18 months. And so that was my life. It was, and 12 moves later, 12 moves and 10 years later, here we are in two different paths. But I always, I very much respect Matt and look at him as a mentor, as someone who's doing great things in the industry. So I always love sharing what you guys are doing because even in the short time that I was there, I did learn so much, and it was such a great honor to work there. So
you continue to train our team, even though you're not here. Just so all the birthday cards you sent out and the personal notes and all the things that you did, the process.
I'm such a stickler for handwritten notes. I've even got all my things right. It continues.
Yeah.
It continues. Oh. So Kathy, tell me a little bit about the courses that you guys offer, because I know we have a lot of estheticians, both in medical and non-medical environments, but we get asked all the time, like, where can I get technique training? I'm trying to train. And again, you guys, Mint Aesthetics, they do all the training, right? You can do in person, they do business, marketing, all of that kind of stuff. They work primarily with medical spas, but you guys do have trainings for chemical peels, for dermaplaning, for hydrofacial, right? Like all of these specific technologies.
We do. So at our Mint location, we are attached to one of our AesthetiCare locations. So our team of 7 nurses and 7 estheticians that are at the Leawood location, many of them are also trainers. So they are actively working in the field, which I think is hugely important. It's not someone that was an esthetician 5, 10, 20 years ago and is now doing training. They're continuing to master their skill and develop their skill. And then, they've been with us for 10, 15, 20 years. And so they are amazing trainers. So we do everything, like you mentioned, from dermaplaning, chemical peels, hydrofacial. The majority of what we do in training is laser and injectable based. So really heavy on the photofacial, hair removal, fractional technologies, RF technologies. And we train specifically on the technology that we have, which I think makes sense. We bring it in, we use it as AesthetiCare, we make sure that it's going to do amazingly well. Our clients and our team are going to love it. And then we take that technology, we develop a course around it. and teach that specific treatment on that technology. So our e-courses cover everything from the aesthetic procedures to injectables to laser physics and safety, which I think is so important. If you're getting into it, you really need to know the fundamentals of laser, which will help you if you are working with Lutronic or Palomar or Cyton or Alma. No matter the technology you have, you'll have such a higher level of understanding by knowing laser physics and safety. And then it goes into the business side. So, a lot of the things that you worked with Matt years ago, but also, if your marketing director needs help, if your front desk manager needs help teaching phone skills, if, we run a course, it's called AesthetiCare 411, which basically our management team sits down and shares everything that happened in each month. So we'll cover the month of September, for example, where we do our big annual open house. And so we cover how and what we did for marketing. Was it successful? What was the spend? What did we bring in financially? All the little tiny things that make it a success. And I think those are the important things.
Multi-6-figure events. I remember I've been a part of one of those. It was really fun. 2 of those, actually.
Yeah. So this year we did 1.6 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In one night, in one event.
Well, this year we actually extended it. It was our 20th year. And so normally we'll run it, the main event is one night, but we allow our clients to basically they just put money on their account. So instead of offering, 10 to 20 different promotions for the event, you get 20% off. So if, for $800, you get $1,000 on your account, or if you spend $4,000, you get $5,000 on your account. And so it makes it really easy for them. And so we would allow them to call in or come in to add to their account over the course of those 5 days of that week. This year, we actually did it over 20 days for 20th year.
20 years. Okay.
But, probably 90% of it came in within 4 days, like it typically does. And then there were just kind of a little trickle in here and there for people that might have been out of town. So, but, it's grown every year. Like I mentioned earlier on, it started out at, 100,000 and then 250,000 and then 470,000 or something like that. And then just every year it's gotten bigger and bigger. And so even last year when we had to do 100% virtual, we did 1.4 million, which we thought was a massive success because we thought, how are we going to do this virtual, right?
Yeah.
And so all of that is in there as well. So even if you look back at last year's September, how to host a successful virtual event, all of those pieces are in there.
And so you guys are doing the e-courses and online trainings, but you also do in-person training if someone wants to come to your facility.
We do. So we do face-to-face training, and I love it. And I think what makes it unique is that it's one-on-one. So, and we don't charge per person within the clinic. So if you have 3 providers that you want them to learn photofacial treatments, you would bring all 3 and we would work together through that day. So basically it starts with an overview, explaining the laser physics and safety behind it, patient selection, contraindications, all the things that make it or break it. And then we do hands-on together. So if I'm, the trainer will do one treatment and then the trainees will take over. So you actually get involved doing hands-on with us instead of just watching.
It's more than just one pulse. I remember when the laser reps would come in, they'd do the training and like, if you do one pulse, you're trained. Oh my gosh.
That is crazy, right?
I know. It was nuts. I mean, but this was a long time ago. I don't know how they're doing it now.
Some of the companies still do it that way. I mean,
you get your little certificate and it's
it blows my mind still. The clinics, I had a clinic in here training a couple of weeks ago, and they had bought their laser 6 years ago and not had one additional day of training since, and wondered why it wasn't working for them. There's just the training is so important. And I think, it's understanding the technology so you're confident, and that confidence builds so much with your clients. They feel it, they see it.
Every laser is different. Like you've got to get to know the laser and how it works and how it responds. Like even just, I haven't done lasers in so long, but I've been trained on Cyton and also Palomar, and the way that they work are just different. Right. Yes. So you've got to have your hands in it. It's not just knowing like how many joules or how many milliseconds or how many whatever. It's like, no, right. Everyone is different. And like when you're working on living tissue, it's different. Like you've got to get your hands in it to really understand. So it's so important.
Definitely. So yeah, we do one-on-one. You get to get in there and use the technology. I think, a lot of the courses that I've taken in the past are like sit and watch the whole day, which is also helpful. Like I'll take those courses as well. But the beginning, especially, it's nice to do the treatment and have someone standing there with you to help you and show you, there's your clinical endpoint. That's
Yes.
exactly what we're looking for. This we want to avoid, all of those things. And then we also do Zoom training. So I've worked with clinics where, they'll have a client on the table and I'm helping them do their BBL treatment. It's not ideal. It's much better now because I think we're all so familiar with Zoom. But it's possible, definitely the overviews and didactic and physics and safety behind the technology. And then the hands-on gets a little bit trickier. But I think, it's always just having the conversation with us and letting us put together a package for you, just like you would sit down with your client and put together an amazing package throughout that consultation, whether it's facials and at-home skincare or facials, laser, skincare, injectables, coming and putting together the right package to get the best results. And that's what we do on the Mint side as well.
So I think that, for spa owners out there, if you're saying, how am I going to get better? There are so many options now. There's so many, whether it is through listening to a podcast and I know you guys are going to be launching a podcast soon. So listening to a podcast, attending a virtual training, taking an online course, going to in-person training, wherever you're at in your business, there is something available to you to help you get better. And that's what we need to do as business owners. That's how you are going to beat the odds and make the money that you want to make and make the impact that you want to make and serve the clients that you want to serve, is by continuing to push yourself to be better and better and better. So I want to encourage you guys all to get the training that you need. Make sure that you are the best of the best, because no matter how much marketing you do, how great you get at marketing, it's one thing to get your clients there. It's another thing to keep them and retain them and make them happy and love the results that they're getting. So Kathy, where can people find you guys, follow you guys, get in touch with you guys? What are all the links?
All the stuff. Yeah, Mint Aesthetics. So MINT, like the plant, aesthetics. I actually can spell aesthetics now.
You know how many people, my husband's an engineer. And so everyone's like, oh, so what hospital do you work at? Because they think I'm an anesthetist or like you put someone to sleep. I'm like, no. There's this whole thing about skin. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. It's so much more interesting, right? To talk about the skin stuff. And then, so Mint Aesthetics, that's our handle for Instagram and Facebook. And then our clinic, which I think would be fun to take a look at too, just to see what we're about on that, in that world as well, is greatskinkc.com. So it's aesthetic care, but greatskinkc.com is our website. And then AesthetiCare KC are our handles for Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. And we will get all of that linked up below. You guys, if you need ongoing education, please check them out. They're incredible at what they do. And as always, if you want to keep this conversation going, head on over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy Facebook group, tag us, and we will help you out.